Hi guys, True here, bringing you another True review. Today I'm bringing you Feist on the Xbox One. At least I believe it's pronounced that. It's spelled Feist. It's also available on PC and PS4 as well. It's priced at $7.99 on the UK Xbox Marketplace. Prices may obviously differ on different formats, so you do need to check your local listings as well there. So what we have with Feist is we have a platform game where you play as... I don't know actually what you play as. You play as a furry little creature who begins his life trapped in a box, swinging from the trees. You have to move left and right to break the break the crate from the rope and make it land on the ground of the forest, and then break the crate on the forest foliage to start your adventure. And you reveal to be a furry little creature. There's no story as such with this. There's very little in terms of storytelling going on, so you're kind of left to your own devices in making up what you think is actually happening. But the game is a simple task, and it's to literally survive the harsh environment, because everything's out to get this little dude. Honestly, I mean, he's pretty much defenseless other than picking up a few objects on the floor and throwing them at the enemies. But his main adversary seems to be this local wildlife. As he traverses from left to right over the game's 10 levels, you'll meet things like blowflies, like slugs, before you get more kind of sentient beings who you see in the introduction sequence, which to me look like they're fully grown versions of what he may be, but nevertheless they're still out to doing mischief, really. Now the game's got a very, very unique look to it, a look what I really, really like and enjoy. It's been drawn comparisons to Limbo, which for those of you who will probably know, it's that Limbo was in like a silhouette kind of look, with using greys, blacks and just whites on occasion just to highlight areas. And this has the same kind of shadow puppet kind of look to it, but rather than stick to just blacks and greys, the backgrounds are bright, vibrant neon colours, which really, really make the blacks shine, if that's a thing, if blacks can shine, that is. But it really, really works. The Limbo comparisons tend to end there though, because while Limbo was more of a puzzle platformer, this is more of a straight platformer, really. There's no such puzzles, or nothing you would really call a puzzle, to be honest with you. It's more centered on encounters with the game's wildlife, which is very, very brutal and very, very difficult to actually bypass, and that becomes the game's biggest hindrance, to be honest with you, because the platforming sections, while there's nothing too complex in there, play rather well and rather tight. But yeah, you start hitting the problems when you get onto a few levels into the game and you start versing multiple enemies. The enemy's AI is kind of linked to your own movements. They don't follow traditional attack patterns like you would find in video games as such. They have the impression of kind of reacting to what your inputs are, so it makes the encounters very, very difficult to actually figure out. And that's the case when there's just a solitary enemy on the screen. But when you start getting introduced to multiple foes, the battles become very, very disjointed encounters and quickly turn to frustration, because it seems as if you are controlling the enemies as well. It's literally like they have the answer for everything you do, and you've just got to kind of look out or get a lucky break that something hits the enemy and kills it, so you can bypass it or escape. But the combat's really done by picking up objects on the floor. Like you start off by picking up acorns and rocks and rudimentary spears and things such as that, and throwing them at the enemies. But like I say, these encounters are just, while an important part of the gameplay, because they obviously have to have some kind of obstacles in the way, otherwise you would just rattle through the game very, very quickly, become, I hate to use this word because it's a very, very negative word, but become a little bit irritating, a little bit frustrating. Because there's quite a few times when I just hit a complete stone wall and I was literally stuck on battles for like 30 minutes plus, and that's not fun when you have to repeat something to that level, especially when you get the impression that it's grossly unfair. And it just didn't give me that impression that the battles were entirely skill based. You was kind of like just waiting for a lucky break that the game would give you, and that's not the right way to go in my opinion. But it's a big frustration, but does it detract that much from the overall experience? Well, yes it does, but it's still very enjoyable for probably about 90% of the game's runtime. So stylistically, absolutely love this game. Like I say, the graphics fantastic, sound wise again, beautiful musical score, really great sound effects, and you can't really go wrong with what they've done artistically with the game. Achievement wise, it's a pretty straightforward list. There's loads of miscellaneous tasks to do throughout the game's 10 levels, and other than that there's achievements for clearing each of the 10 levels without dying, and clearing each of the 10 levels within a specific time limit placed on each of the levels. So it's going to be a pretty tricky list to do because of the combat, because of the random nature of the encounters, but not an insurmountable one. And I think despite its frustrations, it is a game that I would recommend. It's definitely worth you picking up. It's priced reasonably at $7.99, so it's not a silly price or anything like that. And if you have any doubts whatsoever, it's one of those to definitely put on your wait for a discount list. It's a no-brainer really. It is enjoyable despite the frustrations, and it's one of those where, like I say, you will eventually bypass the bits that you are stuck on, but it's just a frustrating aspect that you've got to do. You've got to replay them for a set amount of time, especially when you factor in if you are an achievement hunter as well. The random nature of the combat when you're not going to die on a level can be highly frustrating. So overall, I'm going to give Feist a 3 out of 5. Definitely think it's worth a purchase at its current price, and if you have any doubts whatsoever about the difficulty or worrying about not being able to progress very far, then it's definitely a no-brainer when it gets a discount or when it appears in one of the many dashboard sales that appear nowadays. But yeah, pretty good stuff, and I'd like to see more what this developer can actually do, because I think this is a very nice, mostly well constructed game. Just needs a little bit of refinement in the combat area, as I mentioned previously. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that review. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.